What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look to the future in Pokemon Go and finding out of all the starter Pokemon for the grass, the fire, and the water type, which ones in their shadow forms with their legacy moves will be the best of the best and the ones you should start prepping for now as raid attackers. Specifically, we're going to talk about raids. We're not going to be talking about them in PvP because the PvP meta is changing all the time and it's kind of hard to predict in the future, first of all, when you're getting these Pokemon and what the meta will look like at that time. So today we're going to be strictly sticking to raids. For example, for anyone still confused exactly what we're doing in this video, we're going to be taking a Pokemon like Primarina, which was just released, Gen 7, taking a look at if it got a shadow form and it got the legacy move that it will get, which is going to be Hydro Cannon you get for all the water starters, Blast Burn for fire starters, Frenzy Plant for grass starters. How good will this Pokemon be in raids, and comparing all the starters as raid attackers so you guys can get the best of the best. We are going to hop right into it and we're going to start with the grass type, as grass starters always get their community days first for every generation. Now what I've gone ahead and done here is I've inputted every single grass starter from generation 1 to generation 7. Note we are not including generation 8 starters because these have not been released into Pokemon Go, and these Pokemon will be so far in the future to get them into this chart, and we can take a look at their DPS and all their stats as raid attackers. Now what you're going to see for grass starters here is you're going to see a Pokemon with a shadow form that hasn't been released yet, and that is Shadow Sceptile in the #1 slot in terms of DPS. It's running a DPS of 18.741 and it's going to be in the #1 slot. If we want to take a look down, we're going to see two more shadows that haven't been released. Shadow Decidueye, which is a new Pokemon in Pokemon Go. This shadow is not going to be released for a while. On top of that, it needs to know Frenzy Plant, and all these Pokemon need to know Frenzy Plant. You're only going to see Frenzy Plant here to be this good. Next up is going to be Shadow Chestnut, and then followed by Shadow Decidueye. After that, we're going to see Shadow Venusaur and Shadow Torterra, and then Sceptile, and then Shadow Meganium. Sceptile outclasses the Shadow version of Meganium in terms of DPS. And actually, if I come to page 2 over here, Shadow Superior is on page 2. So Shadow Superior is absolutely garbage for raid. So when that Shadow comes out, you can kind of disregard it as raid attackers. What you guys should be taking from this is that Sceptile in his shadow form is going to be the #1 grass attacker comparing all these starters. There might be other ones. We'll take a look at these Pokemon in comparison to other grass types in a bit, but start catching those Tricos so you have XL candies to invest into Shadow Sceptile for when it drops. If we want to take a look at all the grass starters of all time, the best shadows we'll have, Shadow Sceptile is actually going to be #1. It's going to be outclassed by the Mega Sceptile in terms of DPS, but other than that, it's going to be pretty much the exact same ranking. We're going to see the only new Pokemon here is going to be Shadow Tangrowth, which is technically not a starter, and Shadow Victory Bell. But honestly, start prepping those Trico candies for the Shadow Sceptile when it drops. Frenzy Plant with the shadow form will be running a very high DPS. Not that grass is a really good type for raids, but that's going to be it. Next up, we're going to take a look at the fire type. Same as before, we have all the fire starters in their final forms, in their shadow forms with their legacy moves, the best of the best. Let's take a look. Shadow Blaziken is going to be the #1. I believe Brandon Tan actually kind of inspired me to make this video because he mentioned this in one of his videos when he was probably doing some research. But Shadow Blaziken, #1 DPS in terms of fire type raid attackers. You're looking at a DPS of almost 21 here with 20.982. After that is actually Shadow Emboar, funny enough. Obviously don't have Shadow Emboar yet, but we did just get his community day, so this could be a Pokemon that coming in the future in the shadow form could be great. Also Shadow Blaziken, by the way, Shadow Torchic I believe was data mined, or like it was supposed to come out during a shadow event. It did not drop, so this actually could be coming very soon. Then after that, Shadow Delphox, followed by Shadow Infernape, followed by Shadow Charizard, followed by Shadow Incineroar, followed by Shadow Typhlosion. So that's the order in terms of DPS for all the fire type raid attackers. The ones you should probably be prepping right now is going to be the Shadow Blaziken and the Shadow Emboar. Both of those has a very high DPS of over 20, but honestly all of these shadow stars are pretty strong. They're all popping over 18 DPS for fire type raid attackers, but the Torchics are going to be the ones you want to start getting the XL candies for the Shadow Blaziken. If we want to take a look at all-time fire type raid attackers, we are going to see Shadow Blaziken and the #1 slot, then Shadow Emboar, then Shadow Delphox, then Shadow Moltres. Funny enough, Shadow Blaziken is actually outclassing the Moltres and the Entei and these legendaries in terms of DPS. However, note some shadows haven't been released that are not starters. For example, Reshiram. I'm just going to give Reshiram a shadow form and we can take a look at this Pokemon here. And yeah, there you go. For example, Shadow Reshiram, if that ever comes out, probably in a super long time, it will be better than the Shadow Blaziken, but you're not going to be getting more than one Shadow Reshiram. Prepping those Shadow Blazikens right now, best you can do if you want to have the best fire type raid attackers in the future. Finally, let's move on to the water starters. Now for water starters, what you're going to see at the top is going to be Shadow Greninja. Shadow Greninja, or Greninja itself, has a super high attack stat. That's probably why it's up here. Its TDO, as you're going to see, it's going to be very frail, but its attack is going to be super high. With Hydro Cannon in the shadow form, it has neither of these right now, so it's going to be in a while. You're going to see DPS of 20.502. After that, you're going to see Shadow Primarina, and it's very close to, they're both at 20 DPS, so Shadow Primarina and Shadow Greninja, both are going to be very strong once they get their legacy moves and their shadow form. But after that, you're seeing Shadow Samurott, which is not out yet, but Shadow Samurott with Waterfall Hydro Cannon, DPS of 18.949. It's very similar to Shadow Swampert, although Shadow Swampert is already out. It has its Shadow, it has its Community Day move, but if Shadow Samurott ever does drop, that is going to be a very strong water type raid attacker, definitely one you can go for. After that, we're going to have Shadow Empoleon, or Shadow Feraligatr, then the Shadow Empoleon, and the Shadow Blastoise is down here, even outclassed by some non-Shadow versions of these Pokemon. All in all, Shadow Greninja is going to be the one you're going to get. Also, Shadow Primarina is not a bad one as well. Those are going to be your top two. So start stocking up the Froakie and the Poplio candies to get these Pokemon. Now, if you want to compare it in terms of all-time water type raid attackers, you're going to see Greninja is actually taking the #1 slot right here. After that, you're going to see Mega Swampert, Shadow Primarina, Primal Kyogre, Shadow Samurott, Shadow Swampert, Mega Blastoise, Shadow Feraligatr, Shadow Empoleon, Shadow Sharpedo in terms of DPS. Now, obviously, this is not a perfect chart of how it's all going to play out because we're going to get some new Shadow forms probably that are not starters, but that's just to get your idea. Though Shadow Greninja is going to be very high in DPS. Something to notice, Shadow Greninja is very frail, so if I'm sorting it by DPS times TDO, which also takes into consideration its bulk, not just the damage it's doing every second, you're going to see Shadow Greninja is actually getting outclassed by the Swampert and the Primarina. So it's a little less bulky than those two, but it is still doing an absolutely amazing amount of DPS once that Shadow does release and it gets its legacy moves. So yeah, honestly, that is it. If you want the best of the best, getting those Torchic candies for the Shadow Blazikins is going to be your best bet for that. Getting the Trico candies for the Shadow Sceptile is going to be your best bet, and getting the Froakie candies is going to be your best bet for the water starters if you want the best of the best. But yeah, that's pretty much the video, guys. If you guys like these kind of future dives into Pokemon, let me know in the comment section below. We can do it for other Pokemon, not just the starters. We can take a look at Pokemon like Shadow Rampardos, if that ever comes, how good that's going to be, Shadow Rhyperior, and other very strong Pokemon that deserve a Shadow form, and we can take a look into the future and see how good they're going to be in terms of raid attackers. Yeah, again, if you like that, let me know below. That's pretty much the video, guys. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Follow for tips, everyone. Peace.